Tension. Based on real events. It was early spring. Overcast skies. A slushy mix of snow and rain underfoot. The clock had just struck midnight. The streets were empty, and Andre took his dog out for a late walk near his building. He was moving slowly along the alley when something looked wrong. By a child's swing half buried in a snowdrift stood a small, pale figure. The streetlights barely reached that spot, but against the snow he could tell. It was a child. Alone. At this hour. Probably lost, he thought, and headed over. The closer he came, the stranger it felt. A thin girl, 8 or 9 years old, dressed for the wrong season. One glance at her made him feel cold. Not on the skin, but somewhere inside. Andre's dog is friendly with everyone, especially kids. Yet now the dog dug in his paws and pulled backward, jerking his head as if trying to tear off the collar. "Are you lost?" Andre asked first. No response. He stepped closer. "What are you doing out here alone? Where's your home? Can you show me?" She slowly raised her arm and pointed deeper into the alley. Andre took off his parka and draped it over her shoulders. "Come on," he said. "We'll find it." The girl nodded silently. She didn't walk with him. She kept half a step ahead, moving too quietly. Slush squelched under Andre's boots, but her footsteps made no sound at all. The dog whined and tugged the leash, glancing back over and over. After a minute, the girl turned onto a narrow path leading to a set of derelict barracks, the kind only stray dogs and local drunks ever used. "Are you sure you know the way?" Andre asked. For the first time, she lifted her eyes and gave the tiniest nod. There was no mist in her breath. Andre pulled out his phone to call the police. Let them handle it. He had just brought up the dialer when the girl suddenly slipped off the parka and handed it back. Then she faced the nearest barack. The door was boarded shut, crisscrossed with planks. She walked up to it and passed through the wood. Andre's mind froze for a heartbeat. At the same moment, he felt dozens of unseen eyes turn from the black window holes toward him. Something chimed faintly inside, like a metal toy. The dog lunged so hard the leash nearly tore free, and Andre understood. The dog was right. Instinct took over. He spun around and ran full speed, parka clutched in his hands, not stopping until he reached his entrance. At home, catching his breath, he looked at the parka. The cuffs were wet, and on one of them was a small muddy handprint. A thin pale thread, like from a child's scarf, was caught in the zipper. The dog, who usually devoured food after a walk, crawled under the bed that night and wouldn't come out until Andre himself lay down. The next day, in daylight, Andre went back to the barracks. The riddle wouldn't let him go. There were almost no tracks on the path, only his and the dog's. On the planks of the boarded door were fresh scratches, thin as a child's nails, as if someone had tried to write a word and gave up. At the playground, the swing creaked once, very softly, though there was no wind. Since then, whenever Andre passes that courtyard at night, he quickens his pace and never looks into the dark window holes. Sometimes he still feels a soundless step slide along beside his own, and a hand from nowhere trying to give his parka back. Next scary story. In 1944, the Polish magazine Skandali printed a report by journalist A. Burcha about a bizarre incident in the North Sea. On a glass-calm night, Danish fishermen noticed a patch of water near the hull that seemed to boil without wind. The air above it turned colder, and a burst of static scraped across the ship's radio, like a torn fragment of Morse code. The captain sent a dinghy to investigate. As the crew drew close, a man surfaced out of the dark, wearing a canvas diving suit and a brass helmet straight out of the 1920s. His air hose was torn. Black tar clung to the rivets. A corroded ID tag dangled on his chest. They hauled him aboard and unbolted the heavy helmet. The stranger spoke English, gasping the same questions over and over. Where's the tender? What year is it? What ship is this? Back on shore, authorities took him in. In halting but confident English, he said he was a diver with the Royal Navy, working a salvage operation. He gave his name as Ashley Redmere Will and insisted he had descended on September 5, 1929. He ran his fingers over the unervingly smooth synthetic lines and a cigarette pack dated 1944, bewildered at everything around him. The archives made everyone's blood run cold. In August 1929, a naval vessel had indeed gone down in that area, and the records listed a diver with a similar name, Ashley R. Will, reported missing after a failed lift. The details the stranger gave matched: crew names, the pump models, even the manifest of the cargo below. His old wristwatch was stopped at 5:17, and on his wax diving slate a charcoal scrawl read, Bell 8 Fog. That night, a thick fog rolled over the hospital pier. The orderly on duty saw wet footprints leading from the cot to the door and out toward the water. From the mist, the ship's bell rang softly, 8 strokes, and the prints ended at the edge. At dawn, a scrubbed clean brass helmet was found on the rail, empty. A faint handprint showed on the inside of the faceplate. Since then, the story has been told as an example of a time slip. Scientists argue. Sailors just shrug. At sea, the past and the future sometimes run side by side. And if you hear 8 bells where no ship should be, it's best not to stare into the water for too long. Next scary story. In 2007, a tragedy struck a small village fun fair. A 4-year-old boy riding the Ferris wheel with his drunken parents fell from a cabin and died. The wheel wasn't as tall as a city one, but it didn't matter. The parents sobered up instantly and lashed out at everyone. The manager, the operator, even people in the neighboring cabins. The ride was shut down. Inspectors combed it for months, found no mechanical fault. The blame lay solely with the adults. In the summer of 2008, a youth camp visited the park. Most rides felt boring to the kids, and despite hearing about the accident, they went on the wheel anyway. They rode, laughed, and when the cabin stopped and everyone got off, half the group protested. "Why didn't you let that little boy out of the other cabin?" The operator blinked. "No one else boarded but you." The kids insisted they'd seen him waving. That evening, 2 elderly women said the same. During their ride, they saw a small boy, sitting alone in another cabin, calmly watching the people below. In the morning, a child-sized handprint was found on that cabin's window, damp as if from rain, though the night had been dry. In 2009, a couple reported seeing a small figure inside the wheel's framework at the very top, as if someone were perched within the lattice, peering down. Later that season, the ghostly Will Lover was spotted from multiple cabins, a boy hanging his head over the side, scanning the riders as if searching for someone. Some mornings, the operator found a torn ticket stub on a seat, stamped 2007. One rainy day, with the park nearly empty, they brought in a local healer. She didn't hesitate. It's the boy's spirit. He never finished his round. That fall, during another cycle, the drive motor shorted out. The wheel jolted to a stop. Sparks showered at the base. A small fire licked up. Panic spread through the cabins. Those nearest the ground were helped down. In the end, no one was hurt and firefighters put it out. As the operator left last, he looked back. Only cabin number 4, the same one, kept swaying gently, as if someone inside were still rocking the seat. After the incident, the wheel was dismantled, old, unsafe, not worth restoring. When they unbolted the main column, the crew found a tiny child's shoelace wedged in a seam. The site has been an empty lot ever since. On some late evenings, locals say you can hear a faint creak there, like someone very small still waiting for the next turn. Thanks for watching until the next scary stories.